Today I'm making a video about this Sharp Walkman. It's a JC-269R, R meaning red I believe, probably not remote, although perhaps it does mean remote. So R is red or remote, and these aren't particularly seen in the kind of Western markets, so more kind of sort of Japan and Asian markets I think is where you tend to see these. So I quite like the look of this, and I did see something very similar to this a couple of years ago, and unfortunately I was unsuccessful in my sort of offer on eBay for it, because what happened is I didn't get the email through that the seller had accepted my offer, and someone came in and actually bought it for its kind of original price. Unfortunately, it's a shame I didn't get that one, because it was actually in really nice condition and didn't have any kind of scratches or wear in particular. So this is the best I've been able to find since then for not too much money. It is a bit scratched up here, as you can see. So this is just the main control space for the cassette once it's loaded. So there's auto reverse feature. So we've got play and direction, stop. There's a little window there to kind of indicate the tape going round. There's a light for power, and there's a forward and a reverse there. So yeah, unfortunately it looks like it's been scratched maybe just through use of the keys or something in someone's pocket, or just their fingers and thumbs, I guess, over a period of time. But if I can get this working, then I will have a go at trying to find some paint, at least kind of paint over this a little bit. But I may just leave it alone as it is in its original form. So this is quite comparable to some of the AWARs, I guess, in kind of size and location of buttons and things. So the AWARs I'm kind of thinking about are the sort of late 80s range of AWARs, early sort of 90s. So on the top we can see just one headphone socket. There's a mode for the tape when it gets to the end, if it turns over or just stops. There's a tape selector there, so normal, metal, chrome, and it's just got Dolby B, I think, so just a Dolby switch there, Dolby on and off. And there's a volume there. On this side there's a X bass, so that's the only kind of control for the sound of it, and you've got two modes. You've got off or on. There is a remote option on the headphones, I believe, for this, the headphone jack. So that's off because I don't have those. And there's a little button there which actually opens up the door. And then on this side, the usual culprit here for for powering these devices is the gum stick battery. So that's just the standard one. So that's not too bad. I've got plenty of those from other things. And then there's a DC 1.5 volt input. It looks like it might have had a cradle or something. Here, an option for it to sit in something here. So it's quite straightforward, I would say. Let's press the push button. So we've got an old cassette in here already, and we've got a number up there, serial number, and the mechanism here. So it feels very lightweight, and it's a quality item, I would say. Looks very well engineered. It's going to be remarkably thin in there, so I would say it's probably got a very thin bout as well. So I have tried to power this up. There does seem to be power, but it will not play. So I'm thinking it's probably about in the first instance. But the other thing that it might suffer from is the dreaded capacitor leakage, which the AWARs suffered from. So that was unfortunate for a lot of AWARs. Some really good units out there, but a lot of them are condemned unless you've got the ability to kind of fix those. And if you're lucky that the boards haven't kind of decayed by all the leaking acid from the old capacitors. So what I should do, I'll get the gum stick battery. There's a Sony one here, and I think it's been charged up for a little while. So let's put that in, and let's just press play, shall we? Once you press play, it doesn't let you stop it. The little light's on there, that's good. Okay, that's so the only way to stop is to slide this cover off. Let's listen to that again. I don't think there's anything wrong with the cassette I've got in there. It's an old one. It's an old, but it's a classic cassette. Let's get the cassette out then. Chef 90 just feels a well-made cassette, that from Sony. I think I'm going to have to get the screwdriver out straight away and have a look to see where the bout is and how it's located in there. So I'm not going to touch any of these top screws. Just going to look at the screws along the bottom part here, and I guess I'll be able to just slide that cover off. Let's get those screws out. Screws come out quite easy. I started with the player kind of like that, so the screws kind of work their way around, and I think they're all the same size. So I like to keep the screws in the right kind of place so they can go back in the right holes. So let's see how this cover comes off. I think there's a little lip there That must go into the case. Oh wow, this is what I like to see. Well done, sharp. It's a very thin, micro thin kind of PCB board. Look at that, that's incredible. Well, they are thin in these players, so the ones from this kind of age really are desirable if they work, because they're just well-made devices. Not really much bigger than the cassettes they were playing, are they? But you can see the issue here. The bout has come away, and it's looks like it's snapped actually. So it looks fairly straightforward. It's probably the same arrangement actually as for some of the other players. So maybe the path of the bout kind of goes like that. So that's the way I'll try anyway to start with. That's definitely the way. Okay, let's look at my bout box. Now looking through my first lot of bouts, I may have some more bouts that I can look through, but these are some really cheapy ones I got from the Chinese seller on eBay, and they weren't very much money, but the quality is somewhat dubious. And if you caught my video about trying to fix a Sony Walkman quite recently, I did have issues with the bout that I thought would work, and it didn't seem to have enough kind of strength to hold the torque of the motor. So looking at this selection here, that's the broken bout, and it is a little bit thicker than the ones I've got here that may work. So I'm going to pull that one out and just give that a go. Look at the difference in size between a typical Sony bout on Walkmans and the one needed for this Sharp. Quite a difference. I've put the bout on, and it is thinner, so I'm not holding out much, and even if it does work, how long would it last before it needs replacing? I probably do need to source some better bouts. Let's try to press play. So I can hear it kind of playing, but I can see it driving the mechanism. I don't know why it would do that without a cassette in there though. Surely there's a limiter in there to stop you from doing that kind of thing when you've got no cassette in there. So it's obviously not detecting if the cassette's there or not. Let's put the cassette in. It seems to be driving the cassette. It's quite a noisy little thing. Wow, that's noisy. Okay, let's plug the headphones in. No idea what's on the tape. That's not doing anything. My battery ran out already. I've given the battery a little bit of a boost. Let's try it again. Turning the volume up on the side there. Dead as a dodo, I think. Unless there's nothing on the tape. Let's get these headphones on my ears. They've got a very worn pre-recorded tape, so I know there's something on that definitely. So let's give that a go. Hey, got something. It's a little bit wobbly, but I know the tape is absolutely worn out. It's one of the most sort of played tapes. So without any head cleaning and playing a very old worn out tape, it does seem to be playing the right speed. Possibly a little bit wobbly, but that could be to do with the bout I've put on. So a better bout is probably deserved. The other thing that's not working is the right channel. So the left channel is fine, but right channel doesn't have any sound, so that could just be a little piece of soldering required on the headphone jack. But that's really good. I'm pleased that it's doing something. Trying to work, isn't it? So for such an old for it to still be working is pretty good actually. Okay, let's stop it, and I will have a look inside again. The playback head is a little bit dirty, as you can tell on this bud, so I've given it a clean. That might help somewhat. You can see the shocking quality of this bout in this big bout pack from China. You can see it kind of jumping there, so it's not being cut straight, hence the warble. Having a closer inspection, you can tell that there's no connectors as such. Everything's soldered directly to the board. So removing this board probably needs me to attempt to desolder over here, which I don't think I'm too happy about doing it. If they were connectors, like in other Walkmans, then I'm quite okay about taking things out and obviously taking things apart, but it's delicate. I don't want to totally mess it up. I thought what I could do is see if I could apply some pressure to some of these points, because obviously the audio's got to come in somewhere from the other side. I'm just turning it down slightly. This almost looks like, you see here, almost like a repair there, but that's probably how it was. That was how it was done. I don't know if I can focus on that. Yeah, can you see that there, where it joins that track further up? So the audio is coming in somewhere. The headphones this side. Do you think it's here? Just add a little bit of pressure and see. Okay, so that stopped it. So that seems to lose connection there, doesn't it? You see that? Just touching that ribbon cable. So maybe that's the control element of it. Maybe the audio is this side. I suppose it makes sense because this is the headphone end of the board. But I don't have the service manual to hand. So we don't know if in here it's lost connection to the board. Now it seems to have stopped. So my battery's either gone or I need to take the battery out. I've given it a clean in the headphone socket with some of this stuff. And unfortunately, no difference. Still on the left one. And I've actually got a different set of headphones in here now just to make sure my headphones are all good. So there does seem to be quite a few test points on this board. That's what these are. So can I discover which is the headphone? It looks like I can, yeah. Is it me, or does that area here look like we might have a dry joint? And this would be in the right place for the headphone. Maybe that's the issue there. I'm gonna try running a wire from a bit further down the track up to that exposed part there, see if that makes any difference. I found the culprit, and it wasn't actually the headphone jack. So I've done some scratching around here and basically just making good contact along here, and this seems to be fine. Now I've opened up the lid and had a look, and I can see that this is, as I thought, coming from the head. And when I say that, it's this cable here, flat cable. And the problem is the second one in. That's the right channel for the stereo for the cassette. So yeah, so basically if I apply pressure here using a screwdriver, the point of the screwdriver, I can actually hear stereo, and it's not just mono coming out in both sides, it's stereo. So that is definitely a need for repair there, and how I go about repairing that, I'm not too sure actually. I think I've got this sussed. I've used this soldering iron at a very hot setting and held it for a little while actually on the one that was causing me problem. So I think I've applied enough heat for now for it to stay in contact, and I know where the area of fault is in case I need to revisit this and kind of hold the soldering iron on there for a little bit longer. So I think my main issue now is really just to find a decent replacement bout that isn't lopsided like the ones I seem to have here. I've been playing this for a little while now, and it does seem to be holding up, and also I found a reasonable bout. It's still not great, but it's better than some of these other ones I've been trying. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to assemble this back together and give it a final test using some of the buttons that I haven't used yet, the Dolby, the different tape selection, etc. It's an all metal lid this, and it's got some insulation inside to stop the thing from shorting out when the lid's on. As I was putting the case on, I did notice this little adjustment here. So there's a little pot there, tiny little thing, but it's got access from the case, and I presume that that's for the speed of the motor. Before you put your screws back in, it's always best to check that your sliders, if you've got them on your Walkman, line up with the actual switches on the PCB. And the best way to do that is to have them all in the same position when you take the thing apart, and then as you put it back together, make sure that they're all in the same position and you'll be fine. I'm pleased to report that the switches all work as expected, so I will run this without Dolby on or without saying that it's a different type of tape, because that adds a bit of less fidelity, I would say, to the sound. You keep your trebles if you have those switched off. The extra bass is quite surprising. That seems to work reasonably well, so that is probably the one I would use. And I think that sums it up really. So a nice little Walkman that. Pleased that I managed to get it to work with its dodgy belt and little fix to the connector from the head to the PCB board. I will revisit this with a decent bout when I hold one, so that's my plan next. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe, and I shall do some more videos in the future. Bye for now. The only downside I would say about this is the noise of the motor.